So welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today I will be reviewing Nightmare on Elm Street 2010. Oh, this is going to be a fun review. So, before I get into the video, make sure you hit that like button, all that great stuff. Let's go ahead and get into the video. So let me go ahead and say, don't know, this movie is just, I wish it didn't happen. There's some pros, surprisingly, and there are some cons. There's more cons than pros, but let me get to something here. The story, it's basically the same story while them bashing, over your head of what Freddy is. Freddy's basically a child molester in this. That's basically what he is. And every chance they get, they beat you over the head with that. That's basically the story. Chris in this, she's basically your final girl until half of the movie. Then Nancy finally comes in, which was weird. Now I will say, the girl who plays Nancy, she did a terrible job. Fun fact, she didn't even want to play the role. She didn't even know nothing about the original Nancy character. She wasn't even interested into the character. I think the girl who played Chris, the blonde girl, she should have been Nancy. She should have been Nancy. So there's that. The cons for this movie, they beat you over the head with what I just said, that Freddy's a child molester. They beat you over the head with that so many times, it's ridiculous. Another thing, there's too many cheap jump scares. This is a slasher. And you're going to have cheap jump scares? For some odd reason, now Freddy has CGI on his face instead of practical effects. Lame. And just like some unnecessary scenes in this too that just dragged on. Look, I'm not joking. This movie makes me sleepy. Every time I watch this movie, it makes me sleepy. It makes me sleepy. Like, this movie makes me sleepy. There's so many cons to this movie. And a lot of people don't know this. This is not the original cut. I want to see the original cut of this movie. I remember getting this back in 2010. And I remember being so hyped for the trailers. And I remember seeing it for the first time in 2010, when it came out on DVD. Obviously, this is the Blu-ray. I have the DVD over there. But the point is, I remember getting the DVD and stuff back then, watching it and just being disappointed. And that's really what it is. It's just, I don't know what this movie is. Like, I don't know what this is. But like what I was saying was, this is not the original cut. Because there's some scenes that was in the trailer that's not in this movie. There's some photos that's not in this movie. There's one, there's some, I've actually did my research before this review because I was just, I was just curious about stuff. And I found out there, from pictures, it looked like there was going to be some dream sequences in this, very similar to Nightmare on Elm Street 4 and 5, but more of a serious take and more of a darker take. I think that would have been cool, but for some reason they didn't, make it into the cut. Other things, there was going to be a scene. This one particular scene was, in one of the trailers, and that was Freddy making the glove. I would have loved to see that. The other scene that I would have loved to see is the original attic scene. The attic scene happens very early in the movie, which surprises me, but it happens early in the movie. And in the original cut, it just shows Chris in the attic and her, like, with the flashlight, and you see Freddy's hat, and then you see his eyes. But in this version, he just pops up, and it's just a jump scare. He jumps on top of her. In this version, it's a cheap jump scare. So think about that. There's another version of this movie that may be better, and we're never gonna see it, And I think that's really disappointing. But yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street 2010. Now let me get into the pros, and there's some more cons, but let me talk about the pros. I do like this one element in this. I do like the element, if you're half asleep, Freddy can still get you. I thought that was pretty cool. It's maybe controversial. I liked Jackie Earle Haley's performance. I thought he did an okay job with the script he had. If he had a better script and some practical effects, I think he would have did a better job. But I don't mind Jackie Earle Haley. I don't. I thought Freddy's glove was pretty cool, and the sweater, which was so random. But I do like Freddy's sweater in this. I like the glove. I do like the whole atmosphere. I do like the cinematography. I like the way it's shot. I like that one scene where Freddy's in the boiler room and he kills that guy who glove goes through. So there's some good kills in this. Then there's some okay kills. There are some really cool scenes in this and some really cool visuals, like the whole scene where Nancy, she goes into the pharmacy and Freddy's just slashing everything, and it's just a really cool scene. So there are some really cool things I do like about this movie. Like I said, there again, the visuals. I like the visuals, the cinematography, the way it's shot. Freddy's glove, Jackie Earle Haley. There's some really good stuff in this movie, but here are the cons, and I done talked about some of them, but let me go in depth with these cons. One con is, why do they keep beating you over the head that there's a preschool in this movie? That's another thing, they beat you over the head with, oh, it's a preschool. I don't care. I don't care that there's a preschool. They gotta beat you over the head that he's a child molester. Then they beat you over the head that, oh, he may be innocent. Decide on what you want and go with it, please. The girl who played Nancy, she was horrible. This movie is too slow. And again, I love me a good slow burn movie. Child's Play. Child's Play is a really good, Child's Play is a really, slow burn movie, especially the first time you watch it. Hereditary is a good slow burn. And there are some other really good slow burn movies. This just didn't do it right. Like, slow burn, you have to do it right. No, this is not slow burn. There's some unnecessary dialogue, unnecessary scenes that should been trimmed. Why is there cheap jump scares in a slasher? Why is this terrible CGI looking thing on Jackie or Haley's face? I'm not sure. This movie is just a mess, like I said. There's scenes that feel out of place, and that's just stuff that don't fit to me. There's so many cons. Like, the cons and pros are equal. You know what I mean? Like, the cons and pros are equal, because you got this side of the cons where it's just they keep beating you over the head that, Freddy did this, Freddy did this, Freddy did this. The preschool, they keep beating you over the head with all these things, and it's so annoying, and I don't understand. Like, why do they make it like this? Why did Nancy come in halfway? Like through the movie, she comes in halfway. You're mainly focusing on Chris, and it's a wild mess of a movie. It really is. Again, like I said, the pros would have to be, Jackie Earle Haley. I thought he did an okay job. The cinematography, the whole visuals, the way it's directed. There are some really cool, memorable scenes, in my opinion. It's it's a okay, could have been better type of movie, and I would like to see the original cut. And I think there's a whole entirely different script, because the original opening was going to show Freddy with bandages. You know what I mean? And that's something too. I do not. I can't talk. I like the original ending. The ending that they chose for this doesn't feel satisfying. The alternative ending to this feels very satisfying, and it feels like a good conclusion. You know what I mean? And there's just so many problems with this movie that I could just go on and on and on. But it's not a movie that I'm going to bash on, because there could have been potential. There was potential in this movie. There was potential. But it fell flat on its face, because, again, that's another thing. I love me a good horror remake. You guys know that. I love me a good horror remake, but when you try too hard, and try to be like the original, it don't work. They try too hard, and they try to be too similar to the original, and it didn't work. And yeah, lots of pros, lots of cons, and that is, the biggest con to me is how they did Freddy. With the CGI, and how they made him like the way he was, and his backstory. Wasn't a fan. Why did you need all that? I don't know why you needed all that, but. And funny thing is, after this movie, you didn't hear too much about Platinum Dooms. Like, Platinum Dooms just disappeared after this movie, because Platinum Dooms was behind this, and To me, this movie is really a disgrace to Wes Craven. It really is a disgrace to the character of Freddy itself, because why did they make Freddy like this in this movie? Why did they think that was a good idea to put cheap jump scares? Why did they think it was good to make it boring in some parts? Again, like I said, this movie makes me sleepy. This movie makes me sleepy because how boring it is. But even though it is boring, I can sit down and watch this because of the cool visuals and just the cinematography and the way it's directed. Again, I hate this movie, but I don't hate it to the point where I can't watch it. I can watch this and it's somewhat enjoy, especially the first half. I can really enjoy it because of the visuals, the way it's directed, the cinematography, the camera angles, Jackie Earle Haley's performance. Wish she had a better script, but it is what it is. Even though that's there, I can still enjoy it. But the cons try to overweigh the pros, and I said my piece on the cons. So that was my review for the 2010 Nightmare on Elm Street. And this movie, it is hard to watch all the way through. It's hard to watch all the way through because of Freddy's backstory and because of how boring it is in some spots. But it is what it is. I made it through it, but yeah. That was my review for 2010 Nightmare on Elm Street. Next review will be obviously the original. Love the original, but yeah. Make sure you smash the like button, please subscribe, hit the notification button, all that great stuff, and I will catch you guys in the next video.